Hello YouTube, my name is Josh and I want to welcome you to our channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at something from Shadow that we haven't seen before. So here's something cool. Shadow is one of the only cloud gaming services that supports iOS. We're talking about being able to enjoy cloud gaming on iPhones and iPads. Now as of this moment, the iOS version of Shadow is only available to beta testers, meaning that you have to be invited to actually try it out. Which leads me to an exciting announcement. As of this week, at some point, Shadow's going to be releasing this app, it's going to leave beta, and anybody with a Shadow subscription will be able to download it from the App Store. So consider this video to be kind of a sneak peek at what's coming later in the week for everybody else. For the remainder of this video, we're going to show you what it looks like to play Shadow through iOS. So I'm going to test it out on my iPhone XS Max. And on top of that, we're going to be playing a brand new game that's in early access right now. It's called Atlas, and it comes to us from the makers of Ark. The developers were kind enough to give us a key for the game so we could take a look at this early access build and see what it's all about. So we're going to show a little bit of that today, and you can expect to see more of it in future videos. And be sure to stick around after the gameplay. We're going to tell you exactly how it felt. We're going to point out a few things that we noticed so that you know exactly what to expect when you grab your own copy later this week. Alright, so hopefully you liked what you saw there. Overall, using an iOS device to play Shadow was pretty good. Now for this video, I was using a MiFi controller that was hooked up with Bluetooth to the iPhone. If you noticed any kind of jerkiness in the movements, that was largely because the sticks on this particular controller are pretty stiff, so it's hard to make precise movements with it. Meaning that they weren't caused by Shadow in any way. Now with that said, that doesn't mean that there weren't any problems caused by using a MiFi controller. One particular problem is that MiFi controllers don't have R3, L3, or select buttons, meaning that you can't click one of the sticks to sprint or to crouch, and there is no select button that you can use to bring up a menu or a map. Now we've seen other services like other apps like Moonlight for example solve this problem by putting virtual buttons on the screen that just represent these 3 buttons in particular. This solution isn't ideal, but at least you can push those buttons if you really needed to. Now with Shadow, I went through all the menus and I didn't see any way to replace those functions for those buttons, so it looks like you just have to do without the buttons altogether. And I'll say this right away, if I'm wrong, so if one of you finds a way to push R3, L3, or select, let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Now moving back to the good stuff, streaming through Shadow on iOS is really decent. It was better than I expected, especially considering that last year when we tested Shadow on Android, the experience wasn't that great. So I wasn't expecting much from iOS, but it really kind of surprised me. I mean overall, things looked sharp, we had great frame rates, the controller was picked up right away, things were pretty smooth there, didn't really notice any artifacting, so across the board it was really impressive. Now it's worth mentioning that my iPhone is quite a bit better than the Android tablet that I've used before. So it's got a better screen, much better processor, better networking, pretty much better across the board. So we definitely want to go back and revisit the Android version of Shadow later in the year. One point that I do want to address is that as of today, there doesn't appear to be any kind of touch controller support for this version of Shadow, meaning that there's no virtual joysticks or buttons or anything like that. So if you want to take advantage of Shadow, you're going to need to use some sort of controller. And that's about it. So this version of Shadow for iOS is impressive. It streams well, especially if you have a high-end iOS device, and it worked really well. I mean, that's basically all there is to say. It's not quite as fleshed out as other options, so you don't have those virtual buttons to replace what the controller lacks, and there is no virtual touch controller that you can implement, but outside of that, it's a great option, especially if you're an iOS user. And really, this is kind of a big deal, because if you're an iOS gamer and you really like cloud gaming, it's pretty much Moonlight or nothing. So it's great to see a company like Shadow come out with their own product that works so well and that gives iOS gamers something else that they can use. So props to them. And that's going to be about it for today's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, then leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you're looking forward to playing Shadow on iOS, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And if you're new to our channel, then consider subscribing. We release videos just like this every Wednesday. We cover game streaming and cloud gaming, and you're going to find everything that you could possibly want to know about those subjects. And until next time, my name is Josh, and you guys have a good one.